Have you ever had a moment in life where things just seem to line up perfectly, and you can't help but think, this can't be a coincidence? Maybe you were thinking about an old friend you hadn't spoken to in years, and out of the blue they called. Or perhaps you've had a time when you were struggling with a decision, and suddenly, the right book, the right person, or the right sign appeared, guiding you exactly where you needed to go. These moments feel like magic, don't they? But Carl Jung, one of the greatest thinkers of the 20th century, would argue that this isn't just luck or coincidence. This is the unseen order of things at work. Jung's idea of synchronicity, the meaningful coincidences that occur in life, tells us that nothing truly happens by accident. Everything, whether it's a small, fleeting moment or a big turning point, is part of a greater pattern, one that is often beyond our understanding. But that doesn't mean we can't recognize it. In fact, Jung would argue that recognizing the hidden connections between our lives, the people we meet, and the events we experience can lead us to a much deeper understanding of who we are and why we're here. In this video, I'll show you how Jung's theory of synchronicity can be more than just an abstract idea. It can actually change the way you see your life and your experiences. We'll explore how nothing is truly random, why your pain or struggles are not accidental, and how by understanding the patterns around you, you can begin to live a more intentional, fulfilled life. But before we dive into that, let's think about the times in your own life when you've experienced something that felt a little too perfect to be a coincidence. Maybe you've experienced a moment of clarity when a difficult situation suddenly made sense. Or perhaps you've encountered people or opportunities that felt like they came into your life just when you needed them. These are the moments Jung would say are full of meaning. The connections between events, people, and circumstances might appear random on the surface, but they're far from it. Let's begin by exploring Jung's idea of the unconscious mind and how it plays a pivotal role in the synchronicities that unfold in your life. Jung believed that the unconscious is not just a place where we store repressed memories or thoughts. Instead, it is a vast reservoir of knowledge and insight, one that is constantly working behind the scenes to guide us. He saw the unconscious as a powerful force that helps us navigate life, often sending us signs and signals through dreams, symbols, and even those seemingly coincidental events. So, when you think back to those moments where life seemed to align just right, Jung would say it's not just chance. It's the unconscious mind at work, providing you with the guidance you need, even when you're not fully aware of it. These coincidences are the way the unconscious communicates with the conscious mind, trying to help you understand your deeper needs, desires, and fears. For example, let's say you've been feeling a little lost, uncertain about your next step in life. Maybe you've been struggling with a decision. Should you retire now? Should you take a leap of faith and pursue a new interest? Or should you stay in your current routine? Just when you start to feel that sense of confusion, something happens. Perhaps you run into an old colleague who shares their story of reinvention after retirement. Or maybe you read an article that seems to speak directly to the doubts you've been having. Is it a coincidence? Or is it your unconscious mind giving you the sign you've been waiting for? This is where Jung's theory of synchronicity becomes incredibly powerful. When we begin to pay attention to these moments, those things that seem too meaningful to be random, we start to recognize the patterns in our lives. And as we recognize those patterns, we start to gain a deeper understanding of who we are, what we need, and what we're being called to do. But there's more to it than just recognizing these moments. Jung believed that synchronicities are a reflection of our own inner world. When we experience these meaningful coincidences, they are often mirroring something inside of us. They reflect our unconscious desires, unresolved emotions, and even the aspects of ourselves we haven't fully acknowledged. In other words, these synchronicities can be a call to action, asking us to take a closer look at ourselves and make changes in our lives. For instance, if you find yourself repeatedly running into people from your past, especially at times when you're thinking about making a significant change, this might be more than just coincidence. It could be your unconscious mind drawing your attention to something, perhaps a past lesson or a connection that you need to revisit in order to move forward. Pain and struggle are other areas where synchronicity plays a key role. Many of us face difficult periods in our lives, times of loss, heartbreak, or personal challenges. During these moments, it can feel like life is random, unfair, or out of our control. But Jung would suggest that these painful experiences are not just accidents. They are often connected to the deeper aspects of our psyche, where unresolved issues are being brought to the surface. Pain, for example, can often be a sign that we need to transform in some way. Jung saw pain and suffering as part of the process of individuation, the process of becoming whole. It's through confronting our pain, acknowledging our shadow, and integrating those parts of ourselves that we can grow into the person we are meant to be. When we experience hardship or emotional pain, it's not just a random event. It's a signal from the unconscious mind, telling us that it's time to reflect, heal, and move forward. So, what does all of this mean for you? It means that nothing in your life, not your struggles, not your joys, and not your relationships, is truly accidental. Everything, from the most challenging moments to the seemingly insignificant encounters, is connected. And when we start to see these connections, when we begin to pay attention to the synchronicities, we begin to wake up to the deeper meanings in our lives. As we continue exploring the idea that nothing happens by accident, it's time to dive deeper into how recognizing the patterns in our lives can lead to personal transformation. Carl Jung's theory of synchronicity isn't just about recognizing meaningful coincidences. It's about understanding that these occurrences have the power to transform us if we're willing to look at them with open eyes. Now that we've discussed how the unconscious mind communicates with us through these meaningful events, let's talk about the importance of embracing the message behind the synchronicity. Often, when we experience these signs or coincidences, we may feel a moment of awe or surprise, but then quickly dismiss them. We might think, that's interesting, but probably just a fluke. However, Jung would argue that these moments aren't just fleeting or random. They're signs from within us, urging us to look deeper, reflect, and make changes in our lives. For instance, think about a time when you've had an idea or a dream that felt too specific to ignore. Maybe you've been considering making a significant change, whether it's retiring, starting a new hobby, or even ending a relationship. Suddenly, you encounter something that seems to speak directly to your situation. A conversation with a stranger, a passage in a book, or even a seemingly random event that catches your attention. The idea of these moments being mere coincidences quickly fades away. There's an undeniable sense that something is trying to get your attention, something that you need to pay attention to in order to grow. Jung would encourage you to stop dismissing these moments and start asking yourself why they happened. What is the deeper meaning behind them? What is the unconscious mind trying to communicate? Maybe it's not just about the surface-level event. Maybe it's about how it resonates with something inside you, something you've been trying to avoid or ignore. This is where transformation begins, by paying attention to what these synchronistic moments are trying to tell you about your life and the choices you are facing. Let's take a more personal example. Suppose you've been in a job for many years, and although it provides stability, something inside of you feels unfulfilled. You may have ignored this feeling for a while, telling yourself that it's just a phase or that you're lucky to have a steady job. But one day, you hear about someone else who took a leap of faith, changed careers, and found fulfillment. Perhaps they even share how difficult it was at first, but how rewarding it has been in the end. That moment may spark something in you, a realization that you too may need to reconsider your own path. This is an example of how synchronicity works. Jung would say that this moment of realization is not just a random event. It's a part of a much deeper process that is happening within you. The universe or the unconscious mind brings these things to the surface when you are ready to act on them. If you've been struggling with feelings of dissatisfaction, and then a meaningful coincidence like this happens, it's not just a fluke. It's a sign that you're being called to make a change, to face the truth of what you truly want, and to step into a new phase of life. This leads us to another critical idea from Jung. We are all capable of transformation. But transformation is not something that happens easily. It requires us to confront uncomfortable truths, to face the aspects of ourselves that we've hidden away, and to embrace the unknown. This process is often messy, difficult, and full of challenges. But it's also where we find the greatest opportunities for growth and fulfillment. When you start recognizing these synchronicities and allowing them to guide you, you begin to see that every experience, good or bad, is part of your personal transformation. Think about the challenges you've faced in your life, whether they were personal, professional, or emotional. Jung believed that every difficulty is a lesson. Every painful experience holds potential for growth. When we face challenges, our unconscious mind is trying to teach us something. It's trying to show us where we are resisting change or where we need to heal. For instance, let's say you've been in a toxic relationship for years, and you've ignored the red flags because you didn't want to face the truth about the situation. But then, you experience a series of events that seem to pull you out of that cycle. Maybe you read a book, meet someone who shares their own healing journey, or have a conversation with a friend that makes you realize just how much you've been sacrificing for the sake of the relationship. These moments are not coincidences. They are the universe or your unconscious mind reminding you that you are ready for change. It's time to let go, to step into a new chapter of your life, and to embrace the possibility of healing and transformation. Jung believed that transformation is a process of individuation, the journey of becoming the truest, most authentic version of yourself. This process often involves letting go of old beliefs, behaviors, and identities that no longer serve you. And sometimes, it's only through facing the pain and discomfort that we realize the depth of our resistance to change. When we are open to these synchronistic moments and willing to examine what they reveal about our lives, we gain access to the wisdom needed for true transformation. This process can be deeply uncomfortable, especially when it requires us to let go of familiar patterns or relationships. But the beauty of it lies in the fact that every step toward authenticity brings you closer to inner peace. This is what Jung meant when he talked about the importance of facing the unconscious. By looking within and confronting the uncomfortable truths, we begin to release the patterns that have been keeping us stuck. And in doing so, we create space for a new way of living a life that is aligned with who we truly are. Now that we've discussed how synchronicities guide us toward personal transformation, let's take a closer look at how painful experiences, those that feel like setbacks or struggles, can actually become catalysts for growth. You may be wondering how difficult, sometimes agonizing experiences can be the key to unlocking a deeper understanding of who you are. How can pain, something we often avoid or dread, lead us to healing and fulfillment? The answer lies in how we choose to interpret and respond to the pain in our lives. Carl Jung believed that pain is an essential part of the human experience, and he argued that it is through confronting our pain that we are able to truly grow. He didn't shy away from the reality of suffering. In fact, he saw it as a necessary tool for individuation, the process of becoming the most authentic version of ourselves. Pain and suffering, according to Jung, are not just obstacles to overcome. They are essential parts of our journey. They are signs, not of weakness, but of strength waiting to be revealed. It's important to remember that pain is not a punishment, and it's not something to be feared or avoided. Pain often serves as a message from the unconscious, a wake-up call, urging us to pay attention to something important. It might be a part of our psyche that we've been ignoring, or it could be a life situation that requires us to make a change. When we're in pain, whether physical, emotional, or psychological, we are being asked to look within and reflect on what is no longer serving us. Think about a time in your life when you were facing a difficult situation. Perhaps it was a breakup, a health scare, or a major life change. In the midst of that pain, it probably felt like there was no way out, no light at the end of the tunnel. It might have even felt like the pain was pointless, that it was unfair, or that it was just something you had to get through. But here's the thing. Jung would argue that it is in these moments of pain that we often find our greatest opportunities for growth. Let's take the example of a breakup. For many of us, the end of a relationship can feel like a deep emotional wound. It's easy to view it as a failure, as a sign that something went wrong, or that we weren't enough. However, Jung believed that the pain of a breakup often carries with it a powerful lesson. Perhaps it reveals patterns in your relationships that need to be addressed. Maybe you've been seeking validation from others, or you've been neglecting your own needs. The pain might feel overwhelming at first, but when you take the time to reflect on it, you can begin to uncover the deeper truths about yourself. This reflection allows you to embrace the growth that comes from the pain. It challenges you to confront the parts of yourself that are vulnerable, to let go of old patterns, and to embrace the possibility of change. It can be in these painful moments that you begin to understand what truly matters to you, what you need in a relationship, and what your boundaries are. It's often through the contrast of loss and pain that we come to appreciate what we truly want and need, not just in relationships, but in life. In many cases, painful experiences force us to slow down and reflect on the course we've been on. Life has a way of pushing us forward at a breakneck pace, with little time for introspection or self-awareness. But when we experience pain, we're often forced to stop and take stock of where we are and where we're headed. This period of stillness, though uncomfortable, can lead to profound insights. Take a health scare, for example. If you've ever received news about your health that caused you to stop and think about your life, you may have experienced a shift in perspective. A health crisis often forces us to reevaluate our priorities. We may find ourselves asking questions like, am I living in alignment with my values? Or, am I truly taking care of myself? In these moments, pain serves as a catalyst for self-care, prompting us to make changes that will improve our physical, emotional, and mental well-being. Jung's concept of the shadow plays a significant role in how we navigate pain. The shadow, in Jungian terms, is the unconscious part of ourselves that we often try to ignore or suppress the aspects of our personality that we deem undesirable or unacceptable. These can include our anger, our fear, our jealousy, or even parts of our identity that we've repressed out of shame or fear. Pain often brings these repressed parts of ourselves to the surface. When we experience emotional pain, we might find ourselves acting out in ways that we don't fully understand. We might lash out in anger, withdraw in fear, or feel deep sadness that seems to come from nowhere. But this is the shadow revealing itself. Jung believed that in order to heal, we must confront the parts of ourselves that we've rejected. We must embrace our shadow, not with judgment, but with acceptance and compassion. This is where the deepest healing can occur. For example, if you've been in a toxic relationship where you've allowed someone to treat you poorly, the pain you experience might reveal to you that you've been tolerating unhealthy behavior because of unresolved fears or self-doubt. The pain might force you to face the shadow of your own feelings of inadequacy or fear of abandonment. By acknowledging these feelings, you give yourself the opportunity to heal and transform them. You realize that the pain isn't a punishment. It's a call to action, inviting you to embrace your worth and create healthier boundaries. Through this process of integrating the shadow, you don't just heal the pain. You learn to understand it, to learn from it, and to emerge stronger. Jung believed that this integration of the shadow leads to a more authentic, whole self, and that this is the essence of the individuation process, the process of becoming the true person you are meant to be. So, when you experience pain, instead of running from it or labeling it as something bad, try to see it as an opportunity to uncover hidden truths. Ask yourself, what is this pain trying to teach me? What part of me needs attention, acceptance, and healing? As you confront the pain and the emotions behind it, you will often find that you are led to greater self-awareness, empowerment, and ultimately, freedom. Pain is not the end of the road. It's often the beginning of a new chapter of growth. As we learn to embrace the discomfort and transformation that come with pain, we begin to understand that it's not just a part of life. It's a path to a deeper, more meaningful existence. The key is to look at pain not as a burden, but as a signpost pointing the way toward healing and self-realization. As we come to the end of this video, I want to leave you with this final thought. Nothing that happens in your life is by accident. Every experience, whether joyous or painful, has the potential to lead you toward greater self-awareness and transformation. Jung believed that life itself is a process of unfolding, that we are all becoming the person we are meant to be. And sometimes, it's through the most difficult moments, the moments of pain and struggle, that we find the greatest opportunities for growth. Thank you for being here and allowing me to share this journey with you. I hope that by embracing the idea that nothing is by accident, you can begin to see your life's struggles as part of a greater, meaningful pattern that is leading you toward healing, growth, and authenticity. If you found this video helpful, I'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. And if you'd like to continue exploring personal growth, self-awareness, and emotional well-being, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Remember, pain is not something to fear. It's a tool for growth. Embrace it, learn from it, and allow it to guide you toward a more fulfilled life. Take care, and I'll talk to you soon.